a couple of games here. The first one shall be SykoSloth and Dukit, bronze match. We'll get right into these picks and bans here. So we'll see. Here we go. Redwoods, goodbye as usual.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah, pretty standard.
yeah.
I mean, I know. Everyone knows that Kletos. I have to point out how funny it is. Kletos likes the occlusion venues, right? You like Redwoods, you like Aquarium, you like Tayan, probably in that order. You like the newer ones more. But on the other side, your other favorite venue is Courtyard, which is like the exact opposite almost. I know
There's occlusion.
There is,
occlusion.
but it's funny to me because they would not normally pair those four together, and yet they are your four favorite venues. It seems.
Possibly. They might not be the venues I'm best at, but I do enjoy them.
Fair enough. Well, speaking of the best, these two players are not quite the best in bronze. That still has to go to Magic Doer 1, but Magic Doer 1 is just slightly ahead of these two. Duckett and SykoSloth basically duking it out for second place in bronze in what is a very, very competitive bronze once again this season. So this is a really, really big match for Duckett in particular, who comes in with a 4-match winning streak. And if they win, will be tied with SykoSloth exactly.
Mm-hmm. And anyhow, High Rise is banned, and then Aquarium seems like Aquarium's new role is the restriction venue.
Well, last season it was the banned venue because that was the new occlusion venue. Now that Redwoods is newer, just to make you mad, that's the one that gets banned. Aquarium gets knocked down to restrict, and things like Tayan get left open, but nobody picked them anyway.
Yeah, well, I feel like Aquarium became a much higher restriction target after Lazy Bear sort of broke open the cheese.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Ponu was sort of the first to really attempt it, but Lazy Bear kind of was like, "This is how you do it," and then everybody's like, "Oh no,
oh no, oh no, I don't even want to deal with that." Yeah, and if I do, I want it to only happen once.
Yep, and hopefully we won't get that far. Is Duckett's thinking? I'm guessing. Anyhow, it does get picked by SykoSloth, and then of course we got some Veranda. Some Ballroom, and then looks like Duckett likes the big venues. SykoSloth likes the normal venues, I guess. I don't know if Aquarium's normal, but 4 of 8.
This almost looks like a draft from back in the days when I first started casting.
Yeah.
Good point.
Just switch out Aquarium for Courtyard, and there you go.
Anyway, we can just get right on over to this first one here. We got Orange Sorry for whatever reason on Veranda. That's certainly a pick.
It's a slow character, but sometimes you got to keep the snipers honest. It's going to be SykoSloth opening things up very slowly on the spy side this evening. Duckett on the sniper in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, definitely a slower character on a bigger venue, but I will say Veranda, not too bad, a lot of density. It feels bigger to the sniper than it does to the spy because of that long rotation time.
This is very true. A lot of the larger venues are exactly the opposite, but if you're going to play a slow character on a big venue, this is probably the one you want to be on. Stepping in next to the seduction target to open up the game is not able to hit the green test, so it's going to be 34%.
And both players with really, really similar overall win rates on Spy and Sniper. Both of them in the high 70s as Sniper, 40 to 50% as Spy. Just really evenly matched on paper, and it makes sense that they're about evenly matched in the standings too.
Had a little bit of a situation with the ambassador there, but SykoSloth probably wisely decided that couldn't really afford to take that bug. Stepping away now towards the briefcase. So this is going to be a difficult fingerprint already, but does hit it. That could be massive moving forward. An early fingerprint without the suspicion.
Yeah, very, very big in particular, especially if, like SykoSloth, you have a good mission spread, which they do. The only mission they don't do with much regularity is microfilm, even though it's really good here. And getting that first fingerprint early in the game just gives them so many options.
Pretty good AI path, too, around the back of that first conversation. It's easier to do that with a slow character, obviously, but not by a lot. You still have to make the decision. As SykoSloth comes back around afterwards to step into the statue and grab a pair of inspects.
That green hit on the difficult fingerprint, not too surprising either. SykoSloth, one of the higher AT rates for this level, one of just a handful of spies over 50% on the green AT rate this season.
There's the highlight coming in, but luckily that should just be a rote statue highlight. Getting ready to finish the statues. No, I thought the seduction target was on the other statue, but SykoSloth winds up getting rejected off towards the windows on the other side of the venue.
And partial progress across 3 Softail missions. You know what I always say, that gives them a lot of choices as the game goes on. You really like to see that, and it can lead to a cascade of mission completions late in the game.
I always love to see that sort of thing. Back into statues once more we go. So this is going to be the inspect complete. A lot of people would leave that to the end looking for an inspect swap, but Sari's not the best character for it due to her rather slim figure.
This obviously isn't going to happen now, but it's funny to think that the inspect, the seduce, and the fingerprint could all happen on one statue visit, theoretically.
That is true. Back into conversation with the seduction target. This one does come up green, so 85% is where we stand with that. One more flirt from anywhere will get that finished up.
And Dukit hasn't played too many sniper games on Veranda so far, but they have shot in all of them, right or wrong.
Oh, big green purloin coming on the way out of conversation. If Dukit wasn't on top of that, it will be very easy to lose Orange Sari as part of the reject train.
Our seduction target rejected as well. That's very significant because I really do think the sniper was watching. There was very little else vying for their attention at the time, but here's the take.
There's the take. Where's the reaction to it? I don't think there is a reaction to it. I don't think he's looking at the list at all.
No, and that means it's going to be 4 people, both twins, the spy, and Pencil
And
Stash.
now when he finally tries to look at the list, he's not able to get a good look at it. Actually does manage to get the look at it. A red contact comes off. Was in the process of preparing to happen when the shot occurred. That he's not luckily, unless he pays a lot of attention to the log at the end, he's not going to know just how disastrous that was.
Oh, that's really rough. They were about to be saved there. They were certainly not going to shoot Twin there. They were going to get a ton of low lights. They were going to have it very narrowed down. They might have caught the spy dead to rights with the red test. And not only that, look at that. We saw that they didn't even notice the purloin was gone until the next person after the purloiner took it. So actually 20 seconds passed from the guest list being purloined. That's just way, way too late. And if they'd waited just another second, they would have probably won that game.
Yeah, had to know they weren't as on top of that as they could have been. Difficult decision to take the shot when he did, but with only 18 seconds left in the game, sometimes you feel like you're forced into these difficult decisions that you don't want to make, but feel like you have to anyways.
Yeah, so it's really tricky there because the twin, again, the twin, not the actual purloiner, right, but did take the drink afterwards, and that's when they noticed, took it at around 30 seconds. So the shot comes off about 8 or 9 seconds later. So they did have to shoot if they thought that was a mission complete from that character. It didn't help either that the AI decided to walk away immediately afterwards.
Either way, that is going to be a big spy win to start off the festivities. SykoSloth up by 1 and on the sniper side in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And Dukit likes swap a lot more than your average spy here on Veranda and just in general too. And it's a good venue for it, so why not?
Absolutely. Little bit of a slow start, opening at the windows instead of in conversation, but winds up going for an early briefcase, not quite able to get it, loses the race, winds up bailing to the green bookcase instead. This is certainly not the start Dukit was looking for.
Pretty good cancel, though, and Syko was zoomed in on it, so they might get some credit. By the way, Dukit's mission spread is just phenomenal. Above 20% on all 8 missions. That's really something. Just very, very flexible spy.
Yeah, that is very impressive indeed. In conversation with the seduction target now, not quite able to get close enough for the 2 flirt, but it is 47% off of the first green. So not going to have to worry about positioning for the next 2, which is always nice.
And helps them a lot in part because Ducat's AT rate is a little under 40%. That's where you start to take notice. Most spies are between 40 and 50%, and the specific percentage doesn't matter too much. But when you get into the low 40s or below, you have to start playing very differently. And that probably has something to do with Ducat's mission spread too, which I should note has a much lower bug rate than your average spy.
Green book in hand at this point. Looks like he's just going to hang out in conversation to wait for this timer flirt to come through. Cooldown has indeed expired, but he's in the middle of a talk animation, so he's gonna have to wait for this to finish and then pick up the next one. There's the flirt. White test for 79% is where we stand right now.
And that means we could stand even moderately close and finish it up later. And we've been hanging on to this book for a little while, and a lot of highlights are coming out now. I wonder, did we phantom a no talk or something?
It could well be.
Because 5
Timer
or 6
ticking.
highlights just came out.
Timer ticking down just under 2 minutes at this point. No mission completions as of yet. Rotation cooldown expires once more as Duckett steps away. But here's the green time ad. That could be big for Duckett moving forward because that's a great time to do it in the mid-game there. Gets low lit for it as well as he steps away from the window. Nope, changes his mind. Now it's a highlight. Everything is fine.
Yeah, something's definitely going on with these lights, too. People are getting bumped up and back down. Could be for idling. Could be trying to track who the next person to leave from a given conversation is, if they think the spy's from that conversation. You can see it here. More of them. Up and down. Some of these are the people who were high lit before, then they got bumped back down to neutral about 30 seconds later, and now some of them are being low lit, too. It almost seems like it's just for activity.
But the book goes away in the red bookcase. That's the microfilm done. Goes from there to a fingerprintable statue. So that's 1 print and 2 inspects. So this is a lot of progress right now.
And very strange, Psycho looked like they were either staring at the spy, which makes sense because they're one of only 2 highlights, or actually guarding the ambassador next to a low light. And given how soft some of these low lights are, that might be the case. You wonder how much they're worth because we seem to understand that these low lights are soft, and they're still drawing a lot of attention when the amb is nearby.
That is true. There are a heck of a lot of said lowlights, though. No contact has happened yet. It looks like that's where Duckett's going now. Very rough conversation entry, but jury's still out on whether SykoSloth is the type to notice that sort of thing. No contact as of yet.
No, and we're one of just 3 highlights, and one of them's at statues, so I don't know if you want to knock them out. Not that you can know this.
In the red.
There it is now. It's a green test coming out at the end of a talk cycle. That's the kind of thing that can throw some snipers off, but it's not enough to throw off SykoSloth, who takes the shot and goes up by 2.
The jury was out, but then they convicted when that BB went off. That party was just way too narrowed down. Partially, I think, some behavioral stuff, but I think by the end, that time ad probably factored in more than was evident in the moment.
Yeah. It's like those, obviously there were a lot of soft lowlights, but SykoSloth was still relatively confident in them, and for good reason. Now, back on the spy side, Duckett on the sniper has to find a way to answer back in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, 2-0. It's a rough start, but it just means you need to get 1 spy win, and there's, oh boy, early green purloin.
Oh man, this is gonna be fun.
Let's see if we can get a reject chain going. That would be huge. No.
No, it's a very quick take. Seek is the one who grabs the
yet.
list.
is not
SykoSloth
seen.
is at statues. You're right, it hasn't been noticed. This is really big because at this point, Toby's done enough that you can't really tell.
Well, Toby got low lit just now. That's interesting.
Toby did get low lit.
Sometimes that means the purloin's already off, but I don't see anything on the camera side that indicates that they actually ever saw it, unless they saw it out of the corner of their eye. But here's the thing, that highlight for Twin did walk away, reject after the take, and I have not seen any clear camera acknowledgement that this fade was on screen. They might have seen it without zooming. It might have been a really good spot, but if that's the case, it was a delayed reaction.
This is really interesting, though. SykoSloth, the Twin, and one other were highlit shortly after that purloin. A couple of others join them now. Second flirt comes off up to 93%, but that's not the story of the game. What is going on with this purloin?
Well, SykoSloth is appropriately behaving as if they've mostly gotten away with it. Might even be low-lit, which is kind of what you have to do when you hit an instant green purloin on Veranda like that. You know, it doesn't really make sense otherwise.
Absolutely. There's the inspects now done. Still over 2.5 minutes left to play.
And so many other venues, that would just be a win, potentially, if you did really get away with it, or even if it was only down to 4 or 5. But it's not like that on Veranda. On Veranda, you could just say, okay, they got it, and now we're playing 4 of 7.
It's true. Now the flirt's done, so we're already 3 missions down, still with the contact available. So moving through the soft tails very quickly, the purloin obviously in pocket already as well. Oh, that would have been the game right there if that took.
Yep, almost definitely. It's a good bug spot, too, and there's a lot of cover. And hey, what do you know? Our seduction target, by the way, is General, and to help to block that a little bit, but it didn't take, and that means we have to figure out how else we're going to finish.
Unfortunately, SykoSloth was just a little bit too deep in the conversation, and having not picked up that bug, steps into red bookcase to see if we can begin some microfilm shenaniganry.
And boy, it really feels like Ducket's staring at this. When the sniper stops moving, when the spy has a book in their hand at the shelf, that is usually a giveaway that they're watching it very closely. Because that's how you catch the microfilm, is by not moving.
And SykoSloth knows, put the book down innocently. Interesting little redirect into conversation with the double agent.
It just feels so much like Ducket is making sure to keep them on screen.
Here's the contact. I definitely think there was more out of this purloin than Ducket is showing. How much he got out of it remains to be seen, but
They want a bug.
Definitely. Unfortunately, Ambassador goes around the other side of the conversation, so not able to get anything from that.
I think it's lucky for them because it really looks like Ducket is camping it, and we're not actually that well covered over there.
This is very true. It would have been pretty exposed. Under 30 seconds, now under 20 seconds.
Gotta do it. The amp is there, and there's a little bit of cover. Now there's none.
There's no cover. The bug coming across! The purse hand, it was a good angle, but not good enough. There was enough of that purse showing to see that weird swing of the arm that doesn't usually happen, and that is all Ducket needed to get himself on the board.
It was so obvious. They spent the last 2 minutes or so trying to get that bug. They missed it earlier. They had to rush it later, and by then they were onto them. The bug not taken made all the difference.
Yeah, if they were just a little bit farther to the outside of that conversation, or when they went for that first bug attempt, that would be all it took.
Yeah, they had. That was the game. You said it right there. You said that was the game, meaning they would have won if it hit. What you didn't know at the time, but now we both know, is that that was the game in both directions. If it hits, they win. If it doesn't, they lose.
SpyParty really is a game of inches, and now Ducket on the spy side has a chance to tie things up coming out of Veranda. SykoSloth on the sniper in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And all you got to do now to split Veranda is win a spy game on it. No big deal.
Well, it's been working out for the most part so far. Into the windows we go now. Slow start from Ducket once more. I hope this doesn't become a pattern.
Yeah, it's starting to look that way. Okay.
Got another early purloin. This one's another green test from the window this time. Out into the front statues we go. How does SykoSloth react?
The other twins being offered, you gotta love that. And they reject. And by the way, the ambo was on the other side of the venue when this happened. So generally speaking, you know, the sniper can look at whatever they want, but that was a well-timed purloin in a
There's the
mechanical
purloin
sense.
coming off. Immediate zoom in on that. I think it's been noticed.
Well, I think the zoom was just for that statue highlight, maybe. I don't see much reaction beyond that, though. This might still be hanging in the sniper's mind.
You may
boy.
be right.
There
now
it is.
certainly knows. But Dukit is already gone on the other side of the map. We're getting highlights from this conversation. Never mind, we're getting a shot. And Dukit, with the early purloin, manages to tie up the set in Veranda.
I don't know if it was going to matter because it looks like they got away with that completely clean. Not only were they not going to be a suspect for the purloin, but there would have been 3 or 4 people in the general vicinity by the time it was noticed that were going to be bigger suspects. So that game was probably going to be tough to win either way. However, it must be noted, you don't have to shoot there. There's no way this person is done.
Absolutely. You can give it a little bit of time. Try to make sure you have a bit more knowledge on what's going on in the situation, but Dukit able to get as far away from that purloin as possible wound up being pivotal.
Yeah.
Actually, I was muted to the cast, but it looks like Irish had been interrupted and left mid talk, and that's what.
And you're in the same conversation where it was noticed, and that's one thing too many.
I mean, you should probably still not just shoot for that, but.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, in that case though, it was just not catching it. You know, there was a reject and then a take, and then I think 2 people after that maybe is when it was finally noticed.
All right, and
So
that puts us at 2-2, stepping into Ballroom. SykoSloth once more going to be opening things up on the spy side. Dukit on the sniper in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
More twin shenanigans. Seen a lot of the twins tonight.
In conversation with both the seduction target and the double agent to open up the game. A bit of a distance from the seduction target, but does hit the green test. So that'll put us at 41% off the top.
That's an awkward number to be at, but this ain't gallery, it's ballroom. We'll probably be fine. Probably.
And as Manatters is noting in the chat, this is an even more difficult venue to catch the purloin on than Veranda was.
Oh, certainly, yeah. The low viewing angle, absolutely. If you are Dukit, though, what you really want to be able to do here is potentially hold. SykoSloth's had a little trouble reaching countdown on ballroom games in particular. Purloin, though, should be noted, has been their 4th mission of choice a bit more often than Bug. And that actually fits. I was saying this on another cast. Bug is the mission that tends to win on Ballroom. Purloin is the mission that people tend to resort to. I'm generalizing a bit. When people purloin more than Bug, it tells me they usually don't finish as consistently because purloin is the thing they have to do at the last second. And in that case, when you look at the countdown numbers and the purloin preference, it all seems to fit.
Second flirt coming off. Another green. This one even closer. Brings us up to 92%. Stepping into the statue now to pick up our 3rd. And there's the flirt done at this point. Should be able to pick up a duo of inspects as well.
Well, follow them to statues. Why not? Talk about the statuary. Talk about the art. Pretend to be interested in something they're interested in. That's a time-honored technique, I guess.
This is an interesting little move. From side statues on one set to center statues on the other set.
I like that. That's something I've definitely done. The idea being if they're noticing completely, it's like, why would you do that? The whole point of center statues is to go once to complete, right? I've definitely occasionally done that, but it's always a little perilous doing something, hoping the sniper catches it all. Because
and
sometimes
back
they just
to
either one.
Statues again.
Yeah, we're really, really leaning into this, aren't we? Into this, why would I do all this if I were the spy?
And this one's a swap. It's a green swap. 1 minute left to play. We still need a mission once the swap comes off, but the double agent is in a vulnerable position. Nope, never mind. It's a briefcase.
This is really something. Syko does not generally swap on ballroom. Most people don't. That is behind the hair. of the suspected double agent.
Oh, that's incredible.
Oh my goodness. A crew cut and this game would be over.
Yet.
Oh, this takes me back, Toba. This takes me back to Hat Cam on High Rise. Between Slappy and Drawn Onward a couple seasons ago. Oh no. Oh no.
Lots of lowlights, lots and lots of lowlights, but how is SykoSloth going to finish this?
The obvious
Under
way, I think.
10 seconds. Come on, Toby, get over here. Time is short. There's the contact coming off just in time. Dukit is not going to let it happen again. The overtime hits, the shot comes off. Oh, man.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. Hard to tell what the reaction was to the swap. I wonder if the idea was specifically, I'm going to just do this crazy stuff. I'm going to go to statues a third time. I'm going to expect a low light, and if I get it, I win. But we didn't. Wow.
I'm seeing shot before fade in the chat. There wasn't a purloin. The plan was to purloin, but as we were calling Toby over, the double agent dropped in to say hi, so we bailed in that direction instead, and it just still wasn't enough. That said, Dukit is now getting ready to jump into the spy side of things. SykoSloth on the sniper. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. Again, opening in conversation with both the seduction target and the double agent. Pretty much perfect position in conversation. But not able to hit that first green test, so it's going to be 34% on the flirt. And the double agent steps away as well.
Yeah, pretty standard start here. 34%. That's a very familiar flirt percentage for both of us, of course.
Double agent rejoins, so we may be able to pick up an early contact here. Just waiting for a few people to settle down. People start moving instead. Just goes for the timer flirt, so we're up at 68 after 2 white tests, and the double agent gets tired of waiting once more.
Standard timer flirt. You see timer flirts more often when the first one's green, you know, chance to finish it here in one go, and then that's why you see 85 so often, but you don't see it as often with the first white test. But sometimes if there's no other opportunities presented themselves, maybe if the party looks a little busy, you can just sit there and try to figure out, well, who's the sniper gonna suspect, study the party while you're waiting for that cooldown to come.
Under 2 minutes to play now. Dukit still hasn't moved. He might be going for yet another timer flirt, which is generally ill-advised because of the significant time required for it. But indeed, the double timer flirt comes off, so flirt is now done. But at what cost? 1.5 minutes left to play.
Yeah, at the cost of the majority of the game's time. However, if you're up against a kind of sniper who notices accruing suspicion over time, who notices idling, and you get to 90 seconds like that with no suspicion, or maybe even a low light or something, that can be a big deal. In this case, though, that doesn't seem to be the case with SykoSloth. It seems like we pick up our road statue highlight, and we're still going to be a suspect even though we spent all that time in one place.
Into center statue and immediately gets highlight. There's the inspect done. But with 1 minute left to play, this is still very doable. Double agent is still on the table, bug is still on the table, purloin is still on the table. There are no shortage of quick missions to do. The bug attempt coming across, clicked a little bit too late, so even though the arm went out, the bug did not take, unfortunately.
Syko zoomed in on it. They were protecting perfectly, and they shook their camera angrily afterwards as if to say, I guess I think that was a bug, but I'm not sure. I think, though, a contact alone might get this done shot-wise because they really seem to suspect that. SykoSloth certainly protecting it properly.
Yeah, Dukit's dead.
I think
Suspected
probably.
double agent joins the conversation. The contact comes off. You hate to see it. If the SDA didn't show up right then, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. But they clearly wanted to shoot for the bug and said, you know what, silent game, I'm going to assume I didn't miss a bunch of things. Yeah. The interesting thing is you said very doable with 90 seconds left because of the statue visit. But the thing was, when we got that far with just one mission done, it kind of obligated us to go to center statues, right? You couldn't do 2 visits. You couldn't do 1 for Prince. You couldn't do 2 side statues. You had to go center, which means you're going to center kind of late. And already, yeah, again, SykoSloth just clearly protecting that bug really effectively. Didn't matter whether it took or not.
Indeed, indeed. SykoSloth. Now stepping back into the spy side of a tied game. Dukit on the sniper. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. And this time it's SykoSloth who takes a slow start. An idle in conversation by himself, and then the bug coming across to make up for it. It's a beautiful little move directly across from the sniper. Absolutely flawless. The green flirt comes in right after for 46%, and this is a start to be proud of.
Yeah, and the sniper not zoomed in on it, and it just seems like who would bug there in a way. It's actually weird. The fact that we cut across someone in conversation, it's almost so weird that it seems AI-like. That's what we've noticed with some of these cuts in conversation. They seem suspicious at kind of a low to mid level, but when both players are pretty good, they actually start to look less suspicious, and I think that might have been the case here. I think that might have actually helped protect the bug in a weird way.
In conversation with the double agent is not having it. It's okay, we've already got the hardtail done. Plenty of time.
Still a big decision, though, about when you go to statues. If you go to statues, you probably do. Do you go center? Yes or no? Ducket's still watching Purloin really, really closely, by the way, which is another reason to think that they don't suspect the bug, because they're way less likely to be looking for a hardtail if they think one already has come off.
Seduction target joins up in our conversation. Another green test brings us up to 97%. With just under 2 minutes to play, this is looking so good for SykoSloth.
Yeah, that certainly helps. And that 3%, a little frustrating, but you got more than enough time here. The moment of truth is still the statues or whatever else you want to finish with, like, for example, fingerprints.
Oh, boy. Like, I don't know. If you think you got away with that bug, I don't think it's worth taking Prince right now, unless you're going to go for a silent game or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be one way to go. I think you're right. I think it's probably overthinking it unless you're going to go silent. I think that's
Flirt
right.
is done in conversation with the double agent, looking like not silent.
This is a big moment here. This will tell us a lot about their intentions.
It's the contact.
Banana bread.
There it goes.
That's going to knock out, I think, 3 people, 2 of them already highlights. That's okay. That's not bad.
That being said, though, avoiding statues for a game is also very powerful.
Yeah, those statue highlights can be an absolute crutch for snipers. Absolutely. They can just assume, look, the spy is going to go at some point, so at the end of the game, I'm shooting a highlight, right?
Absolutely. And that is just not always the case. Sometimes the spy gets a little bit creative. What the heck?
Print! All over the Prince!
Prince!
All over the Prince. Psycho decides I want to go not silent, but I do want to go statueless, and I'm going to do 2 Prints instead, and I'm almost sure that costs him the game. That is always a tough call, right? If you're suspected for the bug, you don't want to do the straightforward finish because that's what the sniper's going to be looking for if they suspect the bug but aren't sure. On the other hand, if you got away with it, then you are sabotaging your own game because the boring center statue kind of finish will win almost always. And I think that might have been the case here. But it's so hard as spy to know how suspicious you are for that bug.
I don't think he was very suspicious. I suspect what happened is that Duckett decided he was behind and took a gamble on shooting just for Prince.
Yeah, I think you're right. Again, and I have to point out, you can wait the 10 seconds there. They haven't even picked the book up yet, but clearly, no argument all over the print count there.
absolutely all over the prince. What a shot from Duckett. That is some impressive stuff.
Yeah, very good.
And that puts Duckett in the lead for what I believe is the first time this set,
Mm-hmm.
with one game left to go in the ballroom in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, fell behind 2-0, and again, riding a 4-match win streak here, and if they win, Duckett and SykoSloth will have identical records tied for second in bronze. That would be really big.
Early flirt for Duckett, but more importantly, the early purloin once again. It is a green test, but the take happens early.
But I don't think that was
a
seen.
quick zoom out. I don't think it was seen. He was looking at it.
The zoom was for cast lowlights. A suspected double agent took it, which is bad luck, but that meant they zoomed in just to lowlight. I do not think this has been seen yet. I think we're looking at a repeat of the Veranda stuff.
I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. For a moment, I thought Duckett was dead in the water, but now I'm thinking the exact opposite. Oh, no. Is this going to happen right now? He takes a drink!
Please, no. I sure hope it was seen by then. This has happened to me, by the way, where they take so long to notice the purloin that you get caught taking what you think is an innocent-looking drink afterwards. I do think it was seen, though, when the other cast member took a drink. That the actual DA next to us took a drink.
There's already a lot of lowlights on the board. We have to assume it had already been seen.
Yeah, 5 total. We're not one of the highlights, though, which I still think might be for statue visitors here. I just don't think we're a big suspect for this. And Ballroom is not Veranda. If you get away with the purloin, you probably can wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
A shot is way more likely to come off.
Duckett, there are a lot of ways forwards here. Probably just going to hang out, do the flirts, and watch the laser. That's all you have to do. If you think SykoSloth is going to take a shot, don't do anything else. If you think he's not, then maybe we give the double agent a contact, and that's all it's going to take.
Yeah, and keep as many people as possible in. Certainly know, some of the people who are around you when it happened, around the time the drink take happened, and to get that seduce done so that if you have to rush a mission late, if you're down to 30 seconds and no shot has come off, this will help, then you can still potentially finish.
It doesn't matter. The shot comes off. These early purloins are absolutely destroying people right now.
This is why you have to fail gracefully with the purloin. Everybody misses purloin sometimes, but the difference between having it narrowed down to 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 is massive, because the odds of them finishing statues, being in for contact, things like that, are just wildly different depending on whether or not you can narrow it down effectively. In this case, wasn't narrowed down much at all. And that's the difference. There was a statue rush after anyway, so I don't know if they had much of a chance, but just another game won on an early AT.
And now, SykoSloth, down by 2, stepping in to library. Duckett on the sniper has really turned this match around. Let's see if he can keep the momentum going in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Duckett went down 2-0 and has only dropped 1 game since. Bit of a slow start from SykoSloth. Wasn't able to get and another attempted early purloin. This one actually isn't able to hit the green test. SykoSloth may think he's safe behind this pillar, but is very much not. And because there was no green, I think this time it is not going to work out in the Spy's favor. The first flirt comes off after a failed attempt earlier on at a window, but I think Duckett has this game more or less in the bag already.
And decided not to play it cool, decided to get rid of the drink quickly, which at that point is going to make Duckett, if they're
paying attention to it.
Yeah, and careful about it. I'd say disciplined, I guess is the word I'm looking for. If they're disciplined, they're going to say, I don't care how sure I am. I'm just going to take some cheap lowlights, and I'm just going to keep an eye on this person and make sure they don't finish. And I think that's kind of what's happening here. It's a little different. Sometimes you have to be willing to say, you know what, I'm busted, and I'm just going to hang on to this drink and sip the night away and make them paranoid and hope they missed a green. Sometimes it leads to a really boring, tedious game, but sometimes you steal one too.
Oh my god, it happened again. In the middle of an action test, this time from a conversation. What was that move?
You know, I don't know. If you're already top suspect, I kind of like it just to throw a little chaff in the air. But look at all these lowlights coming off. It was already narrowed down, I think, and now it really, really is.
Yeah, like, as a Hail Mary, sure. If you know you're busted, go ahead. But, like, Dukit responded correctly. SykoSloth thought he might have been able to catch Dukit on rotation, but Dukit didn't rotate when SykoSloth thought he was going to. The bug comes off, the shot comes off. What a game from Dukit.
Yeah, the Hail Mary doesn't work. The bug, the arm, totally visible through there. I think that game was over the moment that action test was white.
Dukit played that, like, he did everything right on Sniper that game.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's all it is. That's all it is. And it would be so easy to just like low light almost everyone and just tunnel them. But why? You're not going to miss anything at that point. And you have to keep in mind that you might have missed one of these. You might have missed another green. There have been so many greens after all. So just play it safe. It's library. It's like Veranda from before. There's 5 missions. They're going to have to take a long time to finish. Just chill. Let them come to you. And they did.
And suddenly it's match point Dukit on the Spy playing to close this out here and now in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, geez. 6 out of 7, I think it is now.
6 out of the last 7.
You just don't see that against good players very often. And it makes sense because you have to play well, and they have to play a little worse than they normally do, and you have to get a little lucky all at once, usually, to win that many games in that short a time period.
In conversation with the double agent fairly early on. I suspect he is going to take this as soon as he sees people settle a little bit. But he is not.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I very often play a game when I join a conversation with a double agent. I play a game called Just a Couple More People. And I just sit there for a long time, just trying to get 1 or 2 more people. I'll even tell myself if 1 more person joins, I'm doing it. Of course, very often 2 people leave and 1 joins, and it's even worse. But I think that's very common, and it's actually worth the time usually too. Usually it's worth the time because you're next to your seduction target the whole time.
Well, there's the contact coming off, and the waiting worked out. Both the SDAs now in relatively, well, both in conversation anyways. There's another relatively full one across the way. Dukit steps out to the bust at the end. And even though we haven't gotten a lot done, we've also only let off 4 lowlights with the contact.
Yeah, it's not clear how valuable that is right now, but it could be very valuable in the late game to make sure to take that extra 30 seconds or so to get a really good banana bread. That could absolutely help you in the waning seconds of library when the sniper has to watch 3 or 4 people instead of 1 or 2.
Well, highlight for the side statue as we tick under 3 minutes. Might be a setup for an inspect swap as we step into the briefcase for a possible difficult fingerprint. Does indeed hit it as well.
Walking too, jeez. And Dukit was the one I mentioned earlier whose AT rate has been a little lower, and against Psycho, who has actually one of the higher AT rates in all of SCL this season. So hitting a green walking fingerprint for Dukit is absolutely huge.
2 minutes and 25 on the clock, and this is going to be the first flirt of the game, and it's a white test, though.
Yeah, that's a little rough, and I don't think you can afford to timer flirt here now. Like, part of your game is locked in now, is the problem.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't finish, it's that the ways you can finish way smaller. That list is way smaller than it was because of the time you've spent already.
Went for another difficult fingerprint. I really like the move, but does not pay off this time. I don't like putting the book back, though. I think we might have needed that mission.
Yeah, maybe. We're going to go back and flirt here, and that bug was unprotected at the time, but we didn't take it.
I don't like how polite Duckett is being right now. He doesn't have the time for this sort of thing. 68% on the flirt right now, under a minute and a half to play. Ambassador steps away from us. We should be able to get the print off of his briefcase here, though.
Yeah, we tried a bug, by the way, which did not take.
So there's the print. That's second mission complete out of 5, with a minute and 10 left to play as we go to return the briefcase all the way across the map. That's going to burn a lot more time off the clock, and that's time we don't really have to spend. Gets caught up on the railing a little bit, it looked like. Under a minute to play now. Into the time ad window we go.
And
This
we're doing
could be bad.
And it's a time ad timing, too. It's before the beeps, a little under 1 minute.
There it is.
Totally off screen. We are seen there at the end, but not seen checking our watch. We were watched. The other side of the venue was what was being watched primarily.
It's a good thing it was a green test, though, because that could have been bad. There's the flirt getting finished up. Minute and 15 now on the spy clock. So we are in inspect swap range right now.
Yep, but we can also bail on a green purloin into finish inspects, or bail into a bug or anything. We have a lot of options here. Ooh, it's starting to look like a purloin here. Did we request a drink? No.
Under a minute to play. I think it's going to be the inspect swap heading into statues now. It is center statue. The beeps are so slow. Oh, he's just going to shoot for the inspect. He's not even waiting to see the swap. Doesn't need it. SykoSloth is on top of it.
Yep, and again, there was a bug attempt, and so maybe the sniper suspects it. They were next to the AMBA for a while, didn't protect it perfectly when they were entering the conversation, so they might have been willing to credit the bug and say, if they finish inspects, I have to shoot. Also, with the beeps, they're very slow there at the end. I didn't see the time ad, but I did see them walking away as a highlight already, so I think that was able to be a little inferred.
I think so. SykoSloth picked up the first one. Still 2 more to go to fight this to a draw. Duckett has 2 more match points to play with. Starting things out on the sniper side of Aquarium in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Bottom shark.
Bottom shark. Bottom left and top right are the 2 shark variants, for those who don't know. And it takes about 15 seconds to go back and forth, and it follows a set pattern, because it's very well trained somehow.
Which means, if you know where it starts, you know where it's going to be at the end of the game.
Yep, as long as you don't time ad, you know which shark you're going to get in the crucial waning seconds of each game.
Slow start from SykoSloth, eventually winds up at the green bookcase, but is able to get a print out of it, so that could be pretty big.
Well, now I really wish I'd said that, because I'm looking at mission completion rates, and Psycho loves fingerprint on Aquarium, and I would have looked a lot smarter if I said that about 20 seconds ago.
And immediately going for the briefcase after the fact as well. That is the print done already.
Yeah, because you're obligated to take it. When you follow the ambassador to a shelf like that and they put down their briefcase as they're putting the book back, you are basically obligated to complete fingerprint. And in some senses, that's a way to be very aggressive about it in a way that doesn't look quite as suspicious as going to 2 separate sites.
I don't know what that little twitch was as you put down the briefcase, but it doesn't really matter. Into conversation next to the seduction target we go for a 51% flirt, also with the double agent in a very busy conversation.
Yeah, there's that green rate we were talking about with Psycho. That 51% flirt mirrors their AT rate overall. They are right around 10th or 11th, I believe, in SCL this season. That really helps.
Sloth, though, SDA is on the briefcase right now. Not taking the contact as of yet, despite lots and lots of people in conversation.
Yeah, I don't know what you want.
As soon as the SDA steps into conversation, the contact comes off.
Banana bread.
That is incredible.
One more person, right? Like I was saying, sometimes that one more person is an SDA.
Second flirt comes off. This one white up to 85%. You were talking about this earlier, that temptation to timer flirt after you hit that first close green. A little over a minute and a half left on the clock, with most of the work done already. In conversation next to the seduction target once more. This should be the flirt getting finished up. And that'll be about a minute and 20 seconds to find the last mission.
This is a really good spot to be in. If we're not that suspected for the fingerprint, it's a good spot. If we're not a big suspect, a minute to find a hardtail here. We've talked about it before. Even a pretty aggressive bug, even a direct purloin that might let off lowlights, you only need to survive for 10 seconds afterwards. It's really good. If you can get to these occlusion venues, if you can get to the final mission without being a big suspect, you usually win.
And this venue in particular, we know what kind of shenanigans can happen behind that shark. 40 seconds left to play. Here comes the bottom shark.
There's cover. You can bug right here. You can bug right here. And the time has passed.
Yep, SykoSloth not taking it. 30 seconds left to play. Timer is starting to tick down. Here come the beep beeps.
That really felt like a please shoot, I don't want to bug yet. But now you're going to have to, and now it's going to be way more suspicious, and now you've got bottom shark, and now the ambassador's walking away. It's getting worse every second.
Ambassador's all the way up top. I think it's going to have to be a swap. This is disaster. He can't even get it in under 10 seconds. It's going to be overtime. It's not going to be enough overtime. Isn't able to get it done behind the shark. The shot comes off, and SykoSloth throws away a game he may have had won.
Yeah, hard to say, but the fingerprint was aggressive, but they were obligated to take it. It was early in the game. They weren't a highlight. There were plenty of other highlights. I think if you just be a little aggressive on the bug, there's a pretty good chance that's going to work. But instead, Dukit brings it home.
Yeah, absolutely.
5 in a row for Dukit, and these two are now deadlocked with identical 6-2-1 records for second in bronze, just behind Magic Doer 1.
What a match. The amount of comeback Dukit had was something special.
Yeah, I think you once called it comebackinating. That's what they had today. They had a lot of comebackinating.
And
I'm gonna point out that it was a little bit,
because we've still got another match to cast.
I was gonna point out a little unfortunate. I don't think there was enough time for this, but we did have the bottom shark returning the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we had enough time for that swap, really.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, that's the real problem. If it happens a few seconds earlier, maybe. But yeah. Oh boy, we'll never know.
Just unfortunate. I feel like, I mean, bug is a mission you should go for here. I'd say
it's pretty common on Aquarium for sure. And I think there was one I was talking about as it happened. Tobo, you know the moment I mean. There was about 5 or 6 seconds in there with the middle shark coming across. It would have been a little aggressive, but I really think it would have worked.